These days we're really lucky. There's so many things going on in the hobby. Almost every weekend there's a convention or some kind of event happening. This means, of course, I get to go along to do some filming. I get to meet and chat with some wonderful people. And because I haven't got enough stuff already, most importantly, I get the chance to do some shopping. Yes, today on Dragon's Teeth, we're looking at some recent events and the purchases I made there. Hi folks, I'm Rob Poyton. Thanks very much for joining me today on Dragon's Teeth, where I'm taking a look back at some recent events I've been to, looking at what I've bought there, and also having a chat about some of the things we've got coming up on the channel over the next few months. So I went to Partisan 25 weekend before last. First time I've ever been there. Quick trip up to Newark. Great event, great show. I put up a report of that last week, so you can see all the stuff that was going on there. There were a huge amount of display games. There were games you could join in with. There were a bunch of traders and a whole range of interesting people to meet and chat to as well. So really nice event. While I was there, I also took the opportunity to nip across to Newark Castle, where I filmed one of my Innsmouth Excursions. These go up on my Innsmouth Book Club YouTube channel. And basically, I like to scout around spooky old places and dig out all the local ghost stories, all the local lore and myths, that kind of thing. So I'll put the link up for that in the show notes below. Now, last weekend, well, starting on Friday, I spent a couple of days at Chaosium Con here in the UK. It's actually held in Cranfield, which is just down the road of me. That's, it's a village. They've got a big university there, and loads of conference facilities, all that kind of thing. So a great venue. And as the name implies, this was 3 days devoted to Chaosium games. So for me, of course, that's Call of Cthulhu. But there's also RuneQuest there. They've brought out a new Viking RPG. So loads of stuff going on. And this was a great event. It was great to see a lot of old friends there. Mike Mason, Paul Fricker, Matt and Trish Sanderson. So chatting to a lot of people and made lots of new friends as well. So yeah, it was a really nice way to meet a lot of fellow YouTubers, podcasters, enthusiasts, writers, basically people who all shared the same interests. A lot of nice gossip and natter, some on technical stuff, some on just really different people's approach to writing or how they create their art. So very interesting. And yeah, I'm going to include all their links in the show notes below. So if you haven't already, please do go and check them out because there's a ton of great stuff out there at the moment. I was there selling stuff as well. I was selling some of my own books and some of my my vast ever expanding collection. And I want to give a particular shout out to Pookie from the Unboxing in the Nook YouTube channel. So what he does is he buys various things at different events, unboxes them, has a chat about them, RPGs, books, games, all that kind of stuff. It's a channel that I subscribed to a while back, so it was great to meet him and we had a chat. And also, he took off my hands my Dagon fanzine collection. And this was one of those things, it's a bit of a wrench to part with it because this is a collection I've had since they first came out, which I guess mid-80s. This was a fanzine put out by Carl Ford here in the UK. Excellent fanzine covering Call of Cthulhu and Lovecraftian horror. I think it ran to about 20 something issues, about 20. So yeah, I decided they'd just been sitting there in the box for ages and Pookie very kindly bought them from me. Great that they've gone to a good home and I hope that he gets a lot of pleasure from them. So yeah, fantastic event, lots of good gaming going on. I did get some footage, but unlike Partisan, where you've got the nice big display tables, RPG, visually, it's not so interesting. Great when you're playing it, of course. It can be very immersive. In fact, in a way, I'd say more immersive than tabletop. But Visually, of course, basically it's some people sitting around a table. So yeah, I did take a little bit of footage, as you can see, but really just to give you a sense of what was going on. Highly recommended if you're into your Call of Cthulhu or any of the Chaosium games, then do keep an eye out for this next year. And I'd like to give a big thanks to the Chaosium team and to David in particular for making me so welcome. And you will be able to meet all of them, or most of them, at our own event, of course, the Innsmouth Literary Festival, which is coming up on September the 27th, and that is being held in Bedford. And this is our third year of ILF this year. And another nice thing that was happening over the weekend were people coming up who went to ILF last year. One or two of the traders were there saying how much they enjoyed the event and were looking forward to this year. So that was really nice as well. One of the things we've been really pleased with is building up this nice sort of community. It's an Innsmouth community, but hey, it's our community. Of course, we'll have our usual blend of guests. We've got authors, artists, panels going on. We've got the games room. We've got our large trader hall, of course. And not to forget our little competitions going on during the day, such as the Tombola. I think Helen's cake last year. A lot of people commented on that as well, that amazing cake she made with the tentacles. Anyway, hopefully we'll have something similar this year as well. We're also going to be running a Friday night quiz. Tim is going to be organising that on the Friday evening. And we're hoping to arrange some extra gaming on the Sunday as well, down at Hobby Hive, our local gaming store. And as if all that wasn't enough, we have Innsmouth After Dark as well. We're at a new venue this year, the Ent Shed, which is about 5 minutes walk from the town centre, where we have a great evening's entertainment lined up for you, including Lovecraftian poetry, live readings, I think it's from Beyond this year, and some live music as well. So yeah, that's a great way to round off a day trip to Innsmouth. All right, so let's get on to the good stuff. Partisan, Chaosium Con, and I had a birthday recently as well. So there were a few things on the birthday list that came through. I'm going to take you through some of my recent shopping now. Mostly figures, and it seems to be mostly undead at the moment. I'm on a bit of an undead thing. I think maybe that's partly because of We Want the Gold, the skirmish game, but I'll talk about that later on. First of all, let's take a look at my recent purchases. These are from Boris Hotch Industries, who is a local figure manufacturer. This is a mix of cultists and vampire figures. So yeah, these will definitely be getting lots of use. I've already started undercoating one or two of them. I'm going to experiment with undercoating in white and looking more at getting into the speed paints. I'm going to try a few different techniques out. And this unsavoury looking bunch are for the Innsmouth game, no doubt, as you will have noticed. We've got some little baby deep ones there. We've got some Innsmouth denizens and a sort of priest figure. I can't remember the name of the manufacturer off the top of my head, but I'll dig that out and I'll put the link in the notes below, of course. So yeah, some nice little Innsmouth denizens. These three I bought at Partisan, and these are from a company called HeylandTerrain.com. They do medieval figures and horror miniatures. Now, how could I not get these? Three of my favourite characters from horror films. We've got the Bride of Frankenstein on the right there. She hasn't had her arms attached yet. I'm not sure if I should glue those on or stitch them on. We've got the Phantom in the middle, unmasking. And on the left, we've got my other favourite organist. In fact, probably my favourite organist, the abominable Dr. Phibes. How could I resist those? A mad organist dressed in a cloak. Yeah, that's a bit on the nose, that one. So really looking forward to painting these. Not sure what I'm going to use them for yet, but I'll be using them for something. Perhaps with some ghostly organ music playing in the background. This was one of my birthday presents. This is a very nice 3D printed terrain piece. This is from QP 3D Wargames. Again, I'll put their link up. So it's like a tomb, basically, a nice rocky outcrop with some sconces, some torches in the side there. And you can take the tomb lid off to reveal a coffin inside. And that coffin comes out as well. Got a lot of chains around it. I wonder why. There must be something particularly nasty dwelling in there. And these were from Partisan as well. These are Crooked Dice figures, one of my favourite manufacturers. We've got some deep ones that have got to be assembled and stuck on the base. We've got a Shoggoth, a small Shoggoth, a mini Shoggoth, but you know, you certainly don't want to meet a bigger one, do you? And we've got an excellent vampire figure as well, another vampire figure to add to the collection. This is a figure that when I saw it, I thought, I've got to buy that straight away, no question. Now, if you've ever been in a local shop for local people, I'm sure you will recognise her. If you haven't, then please do Google Royston Vasey, and when you find out what it is and where it is, go and spend some time there. In many ways, it's the UK's version of Innsmouth. I'm sure you'll have a good time. Of course, you'll never leave, but that's all part of the fun. Now, I'm not sure where I'm going to use this figure, but I am sure I'm going to put it in somewhere. And finally, I just wanted to show you this. This is kind of shopping. This is for my Bane Wars campaign, my fantasy 10mm campaign. And I sprung out on getting some maps printed of the Bane Wars area. These are A5 size and they've come out really nice. I'm really pleased with these. So these are going out to all the players, all the commanders in the campaign. And there's a separate playlist where you can follow everything that's been going on in part 1. And we're just starting part 2 of the campaign at the moment. So, of course, over the coming weeks, I'll be getting all that stuff painted up and I'll no doubt be filming some of that. What else have we got coming up? Well, there's the Innsmouth build is ongoing. I want to have that ready for the ILF, of course. I've made a good start on it. The next stage is to get the buildings done. I think that's going to be the next thing. I tried making some cobbled roads, as you may have seen in a recent upload. That didn't quite work out, but I'm going to give that another go, because I think Innsmouth has to have cobbled streets. However, as a sort of sidebar to that, what came out of that was rubber rivers. I tried making some rubber cobbled streets. They didn't quite work out, but having looked at them, I can repurpose them as rubber rivers. So I shall be putting an upload out on that very soon. And I mentioned We Want the Gold there. That has been going very well. We had another playtest yesterday, in fact, bit of an impromptu one, because we've been running a sort of series of linked scenarios, but I had some other people down at Bedford Gladiators said they wanted to give it a try. So I put together a game yesterday. We worked around the haunted graveyard scenario again, with a few little tweaks and changes, because we had different players, we had some different factions. So, for example, we had a group of adventurers, you know, your typical mage, ranger, fighter, that kind of stuff. We had a group of Ronin, wandering masterless samurai that Nigel played. He's well into his samurai, Nigel, so that was fun. And of course, we had to have a necromancer team again, the resurrectionists. They'd heard that someone had been interred recently in the cemetery, and the necromancer was in need of somebody, anybody. As it happened, he didn't find the body he was looking for, so he and his team, how can we put it, they kind of made a couple of their own, if you get my drift. So yeah, a lot of great fun. Thanks to the chaps who played yesterday. And they came up with some great tips for the rules as well. So the writing of those continues. Now, speaking of that, I put up a little while back a series on self-publishing about how to set up a podcast. And a few people have asked about books as well. So what we're going to do is we're going to show you the We Want the Gold publishing process, how that started from inception and idea through to final print. We'll be showing you how the artwork was put together, the layout, and all that kind of stuff. Basically, this will give you a step-by-step guide to self-publishing your own book. I'll probably add in as well my current novel that I'm working on, Queen of the Fens, which is the sequel to Robert E. Howard's Worms of the Earth, set in Rome and Britain. So I'll kind of tie those two in together. Obviously, one is a fiction book, the other one is a set of rules. And hopefully that will give people some ideas and inspiration to put out their own work. Because one thing I found at the weekend, for example, a lot of people were asking me about self-publishing. They're writing their own stories, they're writing their own scenarios. How do you bring these to print? What's the process? Is it very complex? Is it expensive? All that kind of stuff. Well, if you do it yourself with a little bit of know-how, you can save yourself a lot of money. So that series is going to show you the way to go, the steps to take. As well as all that, I mentioned meeting lots of great people over the past couple of weekends. I'm planning on getting some of those on the show to have a chat with people about various topics, things like the future of wargaming, or things like how do people come up with ideas for scenarios and rules, all that kind of stuff. So do keep an eye out for those over the coming weeks and months. And of course, if you want to be sure not to miss anything, just click that subscribe button below. Not only does it ensure that you get to see everything that's happening here, but of course it really does help the channel to expand and grow as well. Well, I think that's it for today. I think I've covered everything that's been happening over the last few weeks. And there's a fair bit of stuff coming up as well. It's shaping up to be a busy summer gaming-wise, which is great. You never know, after being out of a hobby for a while, coming back into it, quite what it's going to be like. But to be honest, I think most modern gamers would agree, we're spoilt for choice. It kind of seems like a golden age of gaming to me. As I said at the start there's so many events going on. There's rules for every genre you can think of on every level. You know, if you want to play 2mm armies, huge battles that cover miles, or you want to play skirmish with 5 figures each, everything is there. And the only issue then becomes spoilt for choice and finding people who want to play the same game, of course. Maybe that's something we'll talk about in the future. Anyway, as always, please do keep your comments, questions and suggestions coming in. Take care, and I'll see you next time.